Hello and welcome to the season finale of the Prayer Unity podcast, everybody.
No, I can't believe it.
Yeah, we've made it. It's been a journey this season.
It's been a whole year. Wow.
It has. Started with the triangle.
Yeah, Bridgewater Triangle.
The Bridgewater Triangle's been a wild ride ever since.
We're ending it with a Sisterhood. Oh my God.
That's right. Ending it with a bang. So tonight for our season finale, we are going to cast a spell and fill this June night that's close to the Summer Solstice with some powerful women in magic.
Oh, yes. I am so excited. The Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders. And we are going to have on tonight Dr. Pat O'Keefe joining us. Pat is amazing. She has so many things to tell us. She hails from Boone, North Carolina currently, but she actually told me of experiences she's had. She spent much of her youth in West Virginia near a little town called Renwick. It was the closest town to where she lived, and it had very few people. She lived 4 miles from town. She also has spent part of her childhood in Alaska and also in Southeast Texas, but her mother's people are from West Virginia. She feels closest to the Appalachian Mountains than anywhere else. So really exciting. And she thinks that the Appalachian is filled with the majesty and deep magic. I'm so excited.
100%.
Oh, yes. Have you ever been to anywhere in the Appalachian?
No, I've flown over them a couple times, and that's about as close as I've gotten.
I remember when I was a little girl, we went to Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. We went on the Skyline Drive, the Blue Ridge Mountains. It is gorgeous. So anyway, but her current hometown is Boone, North Carolina, which is named for Daniel Boone, the famous pioneer and explorer, and probably a lot more than what we think he is beyond the coonskin caps. So there's that. However, they do host an amphitheater style production called Horn of the South, I believe is what it is called. But I think I said it wrong. But that's okay.
Horn of the West.
Horn of the West. Okay. God, I'm tired tonight. I'm just not here. But Horn of the West, and they host that production every year since 1952, except during 2020 with the COVID pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's also home to Appalachian State University, and you know me and my college towns, so it's really cool. And Boone, North Carolina also has its own set of hauntings. So take it away, Brandon.
Well, I'm actually going to hop outside of Boone a little bit.
Okay,
so
cool.
The first one I want to talk about is called the Green Park Inn.
Oh, yeah.
So the Green Park Inn is in Blowing Rock, North Carolina. It's an 1880s inn, and it's said to have a haunt on its 3rd floor. So witnesses will say that there's a ghost of a woman who died here just actually in recent years, and that she's been seen walking through the 3rd floor hallways. And I mean, if you ever see this inn, it's awesome. It looks like something out of a picture book, because it's got the white siding, the green roofs, the green shutters. I mean, it's amazing.
Ooh. Yeah, we'll put a picture. We'll put a link to that up in the show notes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about the university?
Heck yeah, you know me and my college hauntings.
Exactly.
So Appalachian State University, one of the big areas of hauntings is in the East Hall dormitory. And there are reports of footsteps, whispers, objects being rearranged in the rooms. Now, that would annoy me greatly, just so you know. And lights turning on and off. Students also report sightings of a girl in white. And here's the other kicker, a male ghost haunting a 3rd floor girl's bathroom. Oh, my God.
That would be a little awkward.
That is very awkward. What is it about ghosts in women's restrooms? I've always wondered that. I also
don't
want to
know.
say that there's a really cool community within Boone, North Carolina. It's called Junaluska. It's a free Black community that has existed before the Civil War. And another cool thing about Boone is it's notable for Appalachian storytellers and bluegrass musicians.
That's awesome. And
Yes.
another side note for you. Speaking of Boone, so when I was a kid, I had a coonskin cap as well, and I
Oh,
wore that thing all the time.
you know what? I've known you for more than a year now. This does not surprise me.
No,
No.
not so much.
I think that's kind of cool. But yeah. I was thinking of something and now I got derailed. Tell me another haunting. I want to hear more.
All right. So another one I have is a place called Glide Wells. It's in Blowing Rock again, but it used to be known as Tijuana Flats. So this is a Mexican eatery that was actually partially burnt down. And when it happened, the little girl perished in the fire. She was right by the fireplace in there. There's a concrete fireplace in there, made to look like stone. But since the restaurant's been rebuilt, that little girl's voice can be heard in the building. So when I was looking into it, it actually has a side note to it that gets a little crazier.
Okay.
So there was a lady that I was reading about that her family actually used to own the restaurant. And then the story that they were told was that there was a family of a little girl. It was a teenage daughter, a mom, and a dad. The dad actually went crazy and tried to burn down their house. Well, part of it burned down and it actually killed the mom and the older sister. The younger one was actually the one by the fireplace where there's still footprints. And I guess the daughter climbed up on it to try and get away. The story ended with the girl never being found. But we know that the gal goes on to say that when they were there, someone went into the attic and the flashlights would cut off, like the electricity to all of their toys or tools or anything like that would shut off. And then in the back room, you could also hear a lot of weird noises. And but a lot of the people that were talking about this place say that you can still actually see the footprints on the floor.
Oh, wow. That's pretty sad.
I know it's not the greatest story in the world, but it's still interesting.
It is interesting. Oh, and by the way, Tijuana Flats is actually a pretty tasty restaurant. I've actually eaten at a Tijuana Flats before.
But you haven't been to that one.
No, I haven't been to that one. No.
Go to that one so you can see if you see the footprints.
Great. Your
summer assignment on location. Right. Go get it with me.
I have so many things that are going to be on location, over the course of the summer, but I'm nowhere near as busy as your guest. That's for sure.
Speaking of busy, why don't we bring her on so that way we don't waste too much of her time?
All right, my good friends, Parafam, for our season finale, let's bring on Dr. Pat O'Keefe of the Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders.
Hi,
welcome,
guys.
Pat.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
And let me say first, you just gave me an academic promotion. I actually have a master's degree. Ooh. And I've done additional master's plus work through several universities, including Radford University, George Mason University, and Virginia Tech University. In fact, I actually lack one class for having my second master's, and I don't know why I never finished it, but I just never did.
No, I know how you feel. I tried to work on I have a master's already, but I was working on a second master's degree, and then I just was like, I really don't have the time or the money or the bandwidth.
And it just, and it does become this whole issue of time. Time is the greatest commodity we have, and you begin to realize that once you hit about 40, I think, it's when you start hearing the clock. Cronus, the god of time. Yeah. Yes, you become aware of his energy. And then when you hit 60, It's like you're looking out over the landscape of your future and you realize it's not as broad as it used to be. And so you're not willing to sacrifice time.
I think you learn to be more choosy of where you want to invest that time and that effort, I guess. Brandon, we know how that feels, don't we?
Well,
I'm just letting that one float on.
Oh, God.
I would tell you too, as you get older, you realize like Mrs. Winchester of the Winchester House, and she felt compelled to keep building, to keep building because she really felt that she was number one, staving off her own demise, but also number two, in a very strange way, she was paying karma back for what, the product that her family sold, which was, of course, Winchester rifles. And it's kind of the same way when you get to a certain age. It's almost like you either slow down or you speed up. And in my case, I speed up because, like Mrs. Winchester, I always have a project or two going. It's like I can't die yet. I've got more things to do and to complete, and that's where I'm at in my life. I will tell you, I am happier in this phase, the crone phase of life, than I have been at any other time in my life. You become more assured of yourself. You care not a whit for what other people think of you. And that in itself is, if you could bottle that and sell it to those with youth, my self-worth would be, well, not self-worth, but monetary worth would exceed that of Elon Musk's.
There we go.
I don't know if that relates together, because I really don't care what a lot of people think about me, but I still don't have anybody.
Oh, eventually.
I like that though, because you're really young for that to be a part of your personality, and it's worth its weight in gold, because you will go down paths that no one else your age who doesn't have that attribute will go. You'll be truer to yourself, and that's a beautiful thing, and it makes a person happier when you can be your authentic self.
Yay. I think she's got you figured out, Brandon.
She could.
Well, and you're not the only, and obviously, Pat, you're one of 4 amazing women. So can you tell us a little bit about your colleagues in the sisterhood?
These women are absolutely remarkable, each and every one of them. We have Misty, and she is, her personality and force of energy, her aura is so strong. It just reaches out to people, and she is an earth sign. And so people are drawn to that warmth that she exudes. She's highly intelligent, extremely psychically talented, and just a joy to work with. And then we have her sister Ashley, and her sister Ashley is who I call the Hallelujah Choir. It's like they are so symbiotic that one of them says something and the other one finishes the sentence. And so because Misty is much more the extrovert, she will deliver the message, and Ashley will go hallelujah. And she's also extremely intelligent. She is always looking at marketing and at business. And again, being a Capricorn, they're just naturals with that. And so highly intelligent, and again, extremely psychically talented, and is also a joy to work with. And then our last sister, who is one of the 4 pillars, is Rhonda Caldana. She does have a doctorate.
She is a doctor.
She is a doctor, and she is highly intelligent. She is psychically talented, and she has this quiet dignity about her that she always carries with her, which I always highly appreciate. She is the calm in the storm, where I am a Scorpio, and I may not look, well, I probably do. You can tell I'm ADHD because I'm constantly moving, but she, and I'm a Scorpio, and we're known for emotions, and oh Lord, is that true? And she is a Sagittarius, and so even though she's fire, Dante, Dante's Inferno, the lowest level of hell. If you haven't read it or not familiar with it, you would think it was heat, right? The hottest place, but nay, nay, nay. The worst place to be in Dante's Inferno, in the ninth realm of hell, is cold, freezing cold. And that is the kind of fire our Rhonda can have. It's very, very icy, but very, very powerful. So the four of us make up the sisterhood. We do have some associate members. My daughter is one of them. Her name is Stephanie Prophet, and she's an animal communicator. She can read for humans, but she's not as fond of the energy, shall we say, as she is with animal energy. And then we have Connor, who is Misty's son, and he's an inactive member, but definitely still a member of our group. And then we have Nikita, who is Rhonda's daughter, and again, a very good psychic when she is able to join us. And the last one is Jennifer Prophet, Woodward Prophet, and she is our palmist, and she joins us from time to time.
Yay! And Stephanie was a delight to meet the last time I saw her. She drew a really cool picture for me. And tell her it's interesting.
Yes. Now I'm a photographer, and I enjoy the visual form, but my daughter can actually put it down, right? What she sees. And so she uses that talent whenever she's reading, and she's reading for someone who has lost a pet. As she's talking with them, she's actually drawing the animal, which is really nice. And people really enjoy that validation of, what she's talking about is their pet, because she actually presents the face of their animal to them, which is really powerful for people.
I was curious.
I don't blame her.
Yeah.
I would rather talk to animals than people most days anyways.
Yeah. I even prefer talking sometimes to Odin, my cat, except he'll just sort of be like, wow.
I love cats.
I do too. I actually have been curious. How did you guys get together?
This is a good one. All right. Gosh, it was back in, we knew each other. I had actually met Rhonda when I was doing a story for, what magazine? I think it might have been Ghost Voices magazine out of the UK, or Phenomena magazine. I can't remember. I used to write for both of them. But I actually interviewed her because of the Nickerson's Need House. Then I met Ashley and I met Misty at a conference I had. It was a spiritual conference. It was called Hearts and Spirits, and it was 2013 when I saw that, or when I met them. And so I told them, I said, you're really talented. You have a gift. And they said, no, we're not. And they thought I was kind of a bit daffy. But then things kept happening. And so eventually it just led us all together, the four of us. And we've had, we did have a separation where we had to go into the wilderness, so to speak, and learn new skills and be by ourselves and that sort of thing. And then we've all come back together, and we're a stronger group because of it.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell the times when I've seen you guys and you all do your own things, but you're all weaving together very well too.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about what each one of you specialize in.
Well, we did specialize when we were well, I should say I've been doing this for years, obviously.
Yeah.
and doing public reading for several decades.
Yeah.
But when they were new. They focused on the cards, and they moved far beyond that now. Even though we do list them as our official tarot readers. I mean, like I read tarot and oracle cards. They read oracle cards. They do witches' runes. They do the runes. Ashley is actually learning to throw bones right now, which is a very ancient practice.
Ooh, that's cool.
And Rhonda is our tassiographer, which is tea leaf reading.
Okay.
And yeah, I do spiritual readings. I get messages from a spirit guide, which is an angelic source. And I know this sounds for people that are in the paranormal. Remember, Brandon, when I said be your authentic self?
Right.
When I became my authentic self, I was 100 times happier than when I hid who I was. I'm going to tell you a quick, may I? A story
Go
about,
for it.
Coming out of the broom closet, so to speak, and it's more than the broom closet, it's just being a psychic and being a spiritualist. And I know that spiritualism, is a kind of an offshoot of Christianity in that it is Christians who believe in the ability to speak with spirits and spirits to us. I am not a Christian. I'm a universalist, and I call myself a natural witch. I was just born with abilities and experiences all of my life that really opened up a door to me that is it's different than most people's paths. But there is a price sometimes for being your authentic self, Brenda. We were talking about being happier, but I was in higher education. That's where I spent the majority of my career. When I wasn't as a working journalist, I was teaching journalism, or I was working as director of marketing and public relations. And so you can imagine being surrounded by people in academia who just they cannot grasp some of the concepts of the experiences that we have, right? Out of the norm. And so we actually had a president at that time who was he was a weekend preacher for the Church of Christ, and it was the one that doesn't allow music because music is equivalent to vanity. And a friend of mine asked me if he could do a story on me.
Ooh.
Yeah. So anyway, he worked for a different paper, and from out of our area. I mean, a couple counties over. And I said, "Well, sure." So he did the story, and it ran. And the next week, I unfolded the local paper, and above the fold on the first page was my face. My face. Oh my God. So I get called into this man's office, and he
Oh no.
and he looks at me and he said, "Pat," he said, "what is this? What is this?" And he's holding his iPad up and he's livid. And I looked at it, I looked at him, I said, "Well, sir," I said, "it's exactly what it reads as." And he looked at me, and I will never forget it. He said, "Well, Pat, it's not me going to hell." And that was one time I wish I would have had a recorder. But at that moment, I was cut off from all major committees. I had actually, in fact, I was so much his right hand at that time that he had put me, this is his office right here. That's his assistant's office, and that was my office. That's where he set me so he could have ready access. And so I got cut out of everything. I had his assistant come and tell me that he was, trying to find a way to fire me after 30 years. And I mean, none of it came about because you can't fire somebody who had almost 30 years of exemplary, evaluations. But the funny thing is that I was over there one day and I'd had enough. I had just had enough. And there's something you can do if most people, when they are able to read naturally, okay, or if they can deal with energy, It's a natural position. You put your face a little bit down and you bring your eyes up. That is the position, the best position to go into trance or self-hypnosis, right?
Oh.
I bring that face down, I brought those eyes up, and I am just getting ready to push everything I had at him. And all of a sudden, I heard my spirit guide say, Pat, do not hate this man, for he will walk a path of tribulation. So I pulled back, and I'm like, that's just not good enough. So I started to push again. And all of a sudden, I heard as clear as a bell this voice say, Pat, he will die from the mind. That's what the spirit said. He would die from the mind. Well, I didn't know what that meant at that time, so I pulled back. I'm like, okay, I've got to let go. Obviously, spirit isn't wanting me to own this karma. Well, about 3 months later, his mother died, and we drove all the way out into the boondocks. You have no idea. I mean, the person driving the car actually got sick. So we drive on to the funeral home, and this woman is escorted in. She's an older woman, and there's somebody on both sides of her. And I said, well, who is that? And they said, well, Pat, that's the president's sister. She has Alzheimer's.
Oh.
And well, so a couple of weeks after that, when he came back, he called me in his office, and I noted it was really strange because what he was calling me in for was nothing he couldn't have done himself in about 2 seconds, right? And all of a sudden, he raises his head. I will never forget this. And he had tears streaming down his eyes. And he said, Pat, he said, science cannot tell who will get Alzheimer's. Science cannot tell. And I looked at him and I thought, oh, this is my opportunity. I can rock his world right now. I can say, no, sir, but God doesn't. Let me tell you what I heard, but I didn't do it. I didn't. He was not asking Pat, the employee. He was asking Pat, the psychic, and I knew that. And I said, no, sir. I said, science cannot tell. I found out later that he was forgetting, like, even having sent emails. He was forgetting what he had said in emails. He was forgetting directives that he had given, all of this. And the awful thing is he went down for his evaluation the next year after he wanted me. And basically, he comes back, sells his house within 3 months, and he's gone within 6, which is unheard of for a college president. Basically, we know what happened. So they send this guy in. I will never forget it. Sends this guy in. And he says, well, Pat, he says, he's from the systems office. They said, well, Pat, I'm here, talking to all, direct reports and to the president, and I was just wanting to know, what did you think of him? Was he a good leader? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, he was okay. And he laughed. He said, you do realize you're the first person today that said that. So anyway, my point is, I was true to myself. Once I said, yeah, this is who I am, I just came out. I didn't care. And, things just happen. I will tell you this funny little story. I went over for my evaluation that first year when he found out. And he just wanted to, I could tell. But the thing is, our SACS report, which is the Southern Accreditation, Association, it's our accreditation. We had to get that in, and I was responsible for taking all the parts coming from every direction in that college and actually creating a book from it and turning it in.
Yeah.
Well, everybody missed their deadline, and so I got it 3 days before it had to be uploaded. So I worked literally they would come in, the vice president of instruction, and I would wake up with the keyboard imprinted on my face because I couldn't go home. We had 3 days. No. So I got an exemplary. He could not give me. Anyway, it's so funny. But when I went in, he said, well, Pat, because he, couldn't say anything else. He said, well, Pat, he said, you need to quit wearing perfume. I said, sir, I said, my mother died of COPD. I don't wear perfume. And he said, because I actually prayed before I went in. I said, I'm a great mother and father. I need some help here. And he said, well, you need to quit wearing patchouli. Because in his mind, anybody like me is running around, I don't know, smoking pot and well, I'm just saying, and wearing patchouli, which was nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't exactly my image. And I told him, I said, sir, she died of COPD. I wear nothing with fragrances. It could have killed my mother. I know what it can do, right? And so because of the allergic, she was allergic and she already couldn't breathe. So you couldn't do that. Well, a few months later, we had this new technology, and it was actually 3D, where you could walk around it and see a functioning engine. And you could actually, in the middle of the room, like it was projected, right? Ooh. And you could look under it. You could actually separate and look at the different, like, pistons moving. And he looked over at me. He said, well, Pat, he said, this is interesting. He said, it's kind of virtual, kind of like smelling flowers that aren't there. And I'm like, you know what? We all know that flowers are connected with angelic presences, right? I had asked for protection and I had gotten it that year. So my point is, there's a trade-off. If you truly follow your path and you have a passion for it and you listen to divine source, I don't care what you call this source, it's like things open up for you. It's like there's a protection for you. It doesn't mean that you won't be like Daniel in the lion's den, because I certainly felt that I was for quite a long period of time there. But in the end, it's like everything comes together. But being true to yourself brings you joy. That's all I know.
Yay. Brandon's smiling. Yay. Yeah. Hi, Brandon.
So let's shift back.
All right.
Yeah, amazing.
Onto task here.
You're good.
Do you guys go into like homes or locations, or how do you guys do your investigations?
We don't investigate. As you have to understand that when we do investigation, we're usually at a place working with a team or something. But as far as us being investigators, we're not. So we would go into a location, and what we can do is say, okay, I'm feeling the presence here. I feel the temperature is lowering, and because we'll feel this energy, and somebody can have, a thermometer with them, that can detect that. So we can actually detect it even quicker in a lot of cases than the technology that they have. For one thing, a lot of it you have to run up on somebody to sit, to actually test, because it's often attracted to one person, and that would be the medium at that location.
So you're invited in by teams as an enhancement.
Yes.
To help get a better understanding. What's some of the coolest places you've been to?
Oh, I think I know one of them. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and I know that you're working on a book right now, but I wrote this way back. The Ghost of St. Albans Sanatorium. It is a very, very cool place. And what makes it special is the team, of course, the team that runs it, the fact that the New River, which is the second oldest river in the world.
That river is nuts.
It is. It's a very strong, powerful river, and with so much history, and it runs straight in front of it. So we have all of that energy, and then it's built under or over top limestone caverns. So unlike a lot of locations, a lot of locations that are just depleted because you have people going in and just one after the others, and so the energy that is left behind becomes far less the energy of those souls who were in the building, and now you're getting this layering effect of energy that's coming in. Because you have to understand, if somebody has a lot of trauma attached to them, they bring a different kind of energy, and it's like little snowflakes. They just leave They leave a little everywhere. So, because we're humans, we have energy. It's all around us. And so when we walk into a place, one of the things that I find fascinating is, people who just want to hold on to the scientific method. The scientific method will free us. It will answer all questions. But here's the thing about the scientific method in the paranormal is that with the scientific methods, we still deal with physics, and we deal with aspects that we know in the physical realm. But this is metaphysics. This is something within the paranormal realm. And because of that, you can take two people into the same spot within inches from each other, and one will have a profound experience, and the other one will not. And you have to ask, well, is it all in the person's perception of what went on, or is it truly the event that happened, but one was so highly attuned to a different frequency that slip, if you will, between dimensions was made visible to this individual and not visible to this one. I think sometimes that this happens because a person doesn't want to see or experience the event. And that is why, you have some, well, let's put it this way. 80% of paranormal events that are reported usually happen around bedtime or when we're in that trance-like state that I was talking about, okay? When we're relaxed, okay? Well, when we're relaxed, our guard is down, right? So even if you're wanting to put that guard up and not experience something, guess what? You just got blindsided. And so now you've experienced this.
St. Albans is pretty notorious for blindsiding you. I'll tell you that right there.
So I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here.
Here we go.
So basically what you're saying is that everybody has the ability, but they've kind of, through, I guess, life experience or whatever you want to call it, have figured out a way to block off being able to witness or experience paranormal activity.
I think that most people have the ability. Okay, let's look at it this way. And this is a simple way to describe this. If you have arms and legs, and even if you don't nowadays, you can pick up a racket and you can play tennis, okay? But not everybody's going to get on that court and be Martina Navratilova. And Martina Navratilova would not be Martina Navratilova if she had not worked her butt off for years, right? Having kept herself open, having went to practice, having tried when she failed, and tried again until she was able to do what she did. There's a lot of work involved to becoming someone like her, and there's a lot of work involved in becoming someone who is very open, because you have to work at this. Work at keeping open, because you can close down. I don't walk around, I don't want to know people's stuff, right? I mean, I was in line not too long ago, and there was this older woman standing there, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to tell her. So I walked up to her and I said, do you have a friend? Because the message was there, I had to give it. I said, do you have a friend, Catherine? And she said, yes, I do. I said, well, I can tell you that she's not going to be here much longer. And she said, they just transported her to UVA this morning.
Oh, wow.
She had a massive stroke. And I said, she said, I need to contact her. I said, yes, you do. I said, you don't have much time left. It's not all fun and games, right? Let me tell you, I was at my dentist, and I know, right? And I'm sitting there. This is what I'm saying. People think this
I
is
don't
all,
like that.
some people think this is just ha ha ha. But I'm sitting there and I'm getting my teeth cleaned. I looked up and there's this man at the door waving, right? But not at me. Oh, nay, nay, nay. Waving at my dental hygienist.
Oh no.
And so I said, do you have an uncle who's sick? And she said, no, I don't have anybody like that. Because she knows who I am, because obviously they've been my dentist for 20 years. And I said, there's you've got an uncle and he's waving to you. He's waving goodbye. And she said, well, I have an uncle in the hospital with kidney cancer. I kid you not. And so I said, he's fading quickly. And so she dropped everything and went running out and crying and then wait. And then, yes, he was passing. And so I ended up with another hygienist to finish me off, and she would never take me again. It is.
Damn.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not all. And sometimes
that's like the best story ever.
Well, I know, and they make it. Don't they make it look like everybody's just happy as heck to hear grandma's talking to? Hey, nay.
No.
And the thing is, usually
I can just picture Pat sitting there with like the tube hanging out of her.
No kidding. You know, well, she lifted it up. And that's what when I said you got an uncle here, and he's, yeah, it happens like that. But I would tell you, back to what you were talking about,
the cool places.
Cool places. The darkest place that I have ever personally been.
Oh God,
I've been to a lot. Is Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. It's the only place that I ended up getting injured because I'm so good. It's called shielding, and then warding is when you actually push, push that energy back. And like I said, I've been at this since I was 4 years old, literally. So I'm pretty good at it. Well, I was writing this one was, I know, for Ghost Voices magazine, and I was in room 317. And I will never forget, and we were the only two in the building. It was me and another woman. She was helping me with cameras. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, because I see it in my mind, this little boy jumps up on my backpack, right? And I go flying backwards. I literally fly out of camera range. And I realized immediately what it was. And I said, sweetie, I said, you have to get off. I said, you're way too heavy. And so all of a sudden it released. And then I saw it. For me, when I see negative energy, it's like a swirling black mass. And it is coming right for me. It's coming right through the door. There is nowhere for me to go. And so I told her, I saw it coming. I knew what was going to happen because it was too much for me, right? And this is why you need spirit guides, by the way. But anyway, I told her, I said, get the cameras and follow me. I said, I've got to go. And that's when it hit me. And it was like somebody had poured acid on my back. And I mean, it was painful. And so I just held my breath basically and walked straight out and away from it. And we went downstairs and she took a picture of my back, and I had 3 stripes across my back. Which,
that's fun.
Yeah, it was not fun. And then two of the creepiest things that's ever happened there. I was in the emergency. There's an emergency entrance where they literally took the, when they go to the emergency room, it was what they walked up or rolled you up. And I was standing there and I looked straight ahead and I saw this nurse walk right across, and she kind of turned towards me. And she didn't have a face. It was like swirling mist. And that can mean a lost soul. So I've never seen that one before. That one was new.
That's a little freaky.
That was, but not, yeah. So I'm walking down the other one. I'm walking down the long, dark hallway. And I hear this guy go, over here. And I look over, and there's this guy, and he's got his hand on something. I don't know, a cabinet or something. And he's looking right at me. I mean, just like this. And it was
God.
And I'm like, just kept walking. And so there was all kinds of things. So, I mean, it is incredibly active and incredibly negative. It's like in comparison to St. Albans, which is really
That's
a beautiful place. And there's only a couple of places in that entire building that I feel uncomfortable in. In fact, when I first walked into that place, I knew I would write that book. I knew it. And so it's almost like she's like New Orleans. If you've ever been to New Orleans either loves you or it will eat you alive. And that's St. Albans. There are people that go in there and have absolutely terrifying. Let me tell you, there's some amazingly scary stuff in here. Like
there is.
Especially like dark energy.
But I will tell a quick note about your book. The book is called The Ghosts of St. Albans, and it is filled with this amazing photography because that's part of what really called it to me, is looking at it through your lens. And I mean, I think photography could be a very interesting art form when it comes to looking at these old buildings and these sites.
The one thing I wanted to do when I started researching, you're going to find this too, there's not a great deal about St. Albans out there.
I know.
It's not. And so everything we can do to preserve the memory of this building and of buildings like this, I think is I don't know, it's like giving back to a future generation in case it's not there. People will remember that this was a place where people went. It was like a paranormal laboratory, and people had these experiences, and it served as a boys' school, and it existed. It's kind of like writing an obituary, and I hate to say it in that sense, but for some of these older buildings, we're not like Europe. We don't revere our elderly, and we do not revere anything old, including our buildings. And
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But
I do have an interesting question for you. Okay. Because when you've also been talking about with the sisterhood, the kind of, tell us what you mean by what makes Appalachian magic so deep and special with you guys.
I love it. Okay. I'm gonna be like Sophia from the Golden Girls. Picture it.
I miss Sophie.
I know, me too.
Oh, look at Brandon. Side note, hashtag Black-Eyed Betty White.
The Appalachians are a very special place. It's almost like a closed society. And I'll give you an example. Our family graveyard, to get there, we have to follow GPS coordinates in order to get there. And these hollers that people talk about and grew up in, they were self-contained. And by that I mean there were no doctors. I mean, where would you find a doctor, right? And so there were women who became the doctors of the mountains, if you will. They were called the mystics of the mountains, or Appalachian granny women, or Appalachian witches. I mean, and so the magic runs deep, and it runs deep in those mountains. And I mean that literally. My grandmother could go out into the woods, into the mountains, and she would come back with herbs that could heal you, and then food that could feed you. My great aunt, Hazel Lewis, there's actually an article that was written about her. It was called Last of the Mountain Women, which is kind of cute. Oh. But up into her 80s, she would take a rifle and a fishing pole, and she would disappear for weeks at a time into the mountains. I mean, they were familiar with the earth and the sky, and the dysphoria that that was part of it. I mean, we had Germans, we had the Irish and the Scots. In fact, I'm 40% Scots. I found that out. So the Irish, the Scots, the Africans, all of this was, I can use the word gumbo because my father's people are swamp people. I actually grew up the early years on the very edge of what they called the Great Swamp between New Orleans, basically. If you look at Beaumont, Texas, and you look at New Orleans, Beaumont is slightly north, but it's right next to the big thicket, the big swamp.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a gumbo of all of these things that were pulled together into a folk magic that took the most powerful aspects of all of these things, and it simmered into this beautiful gumbo of survival. I mean, it was a key survival mechanism, and magic was a part of it. And I remember my great granny, I will never forget this. She took a chicken bone. I had this huge wart on my hand. She took this chicken bone, right, and she'd whisper over this wart, and she said, in 2 weeks this wart, it's going to shrivel up and fall off, and it's going to be gone. And in 2 weeks it was gone. They look, my mother, and I've done this. There are fire talkers, what we call fire talkers in the mountains, and my mother was one of them. I will never forget, my little sister grabbed a pot of boiling water that was boiling hot dogs, and it literally covered her because she lifted her neck all the way down. And I'll never forget the scream. In fact, I get teary now just thinking about that child screaming. And I went running out. I was in another room, and my mother took one of those little dresses with the collars and literally, like the Hulk, ripped it apart. And when she did, I mean, there was skin that came off of that.
God.
And I will never forget, my mother put her hands out and she started talking. And then there's this little mechanism you do, and if you're a fire talker, you know what to do. And she did it, and do you know that girl was healed within weeks, and she does not have one scar, not one. But anybody can do it. The next time you get burned, I mean, I'm not going to say everyone, but if you have it in you, you'll know what to say and do. And I did it recently. I just grabbed, like an idiot. I had a Dutch oven in the oven for about 3 hours, and I brought it out, turned around, and went like this, and literally I heard it sizzle. And I brought him up, and nothing. I mean, by the next day, nothing. And so, we have fire talkers, we have wart talkers, which I love. The Connors have a wart talker in their family.
Oh, really?
Just like my great grandma, yes, that could get rid of warts. There were women and men in those mountains that if you got cut like really badly, then they could stop the blood. They would say verses from the Bible, and there is a verse, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible, the ADD thing that comes with ADHD. I have to write things down, but I have it written down. It's the phrase that they say, but they can actually stop and have stopped. My great grandma did that, could stop blood. So there were all of these things, but they were taken from different cultures and then brewed into a very powerful folk magic. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does perfectly. Hi, Brandon.
I don't know where to go from that.
This is our last episode of the season. We're going for break.
I would love for Brandon to see Appalachia. I mean, not the Appalachia around Lewisburg. Lewisburg is very gentrified. It's where the State Theater of Virginia is. Nay. You need to keep going out past Rennick, where I lived. In fact, I say I lived in Rennick, but I lived 4 miles from Rennick.
Right.
So way out. And you go into those woods. I mean, we used to go camping, and we'd take blanket. And I woke up one day next to a creek with a deer licking my face. I guess I had some sweat on my face, licking my face. But there's a comfort, if you will, with nature that kind of comes with living that kind of a rural life and an understanding of the cycle of life that city people don't have, because there is a cycle. And it's like, when did we start hiding death? I mean, we had death like it's something that's never going to happen to us, and somebody else tripped up and accidentally died. I mean, think about it. There are certain times that they take bodies out of hospitals, to the morgue. They call, if you ever pass a room and it's called the holding room, that's a morgue. They just don't want to tag it as a morgue so that people won't think about death. We've taken our dying out of our households and put them into hospitals to die there. So with my mother, we did a traditional Appalachian funeral type of thing, funerary, I guess I should say. She died at home. I helped prepare her body. We said goodbye, and then we were able to let her go. But there's a healing that takes place because by doing the beautiful, in fact, Rhonda just did this for her mother. She and her brother and sister were able, and other brother came together, and they prepared her mother, to release her to her final respects with the wake. And wakes, wakes used to be, let me tell you, wakes used to be 3 nights. I remember these as a kid, and nobody was embalmed. I mean, they were just, Uncle Fred, I'll never forget it. He was up on 2 sawhorses in an old pine box. And the kids were over in the corner, and they were saying, no, you do it. And I said, I'll do it. So I went up and I put my hand on Uncle Fred's hand, and he was just gone, right? But see, as a child, I was able to understand that, and there was no fear. So even today, as a medium, with my own experiences, and I understand that in a true sense, and that life is a cycle, and eventually you will die, but that it's not horrible. Dying is not a pleasant process, and neither is being born, right? That's why babies don't come into this world. They're either silent because they've got stuff, or they're screaming, right? And that's usually that's right. So going out is kind of the same way. But from my experiences as a medium, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, there's no one that ever dies alone, and that in itself should give some people peace.
Hi, Brandon.
I like that I'm referred to as just the city guy. I'll stick with
That's
I'm safe in my cornfields of Iowa.
The cornfields, the children of the corn.
Iowa. I don't know. One of the scariest movies I ever saw was that
Children of the Corn. Oh my God. Yeah. Pat, hi.
So, and I mean, we get a lot of that too here. I mean, you get a real good understanding of life cycles and how it all works, and being in nature.
Yes.
Because I mean, one of the first things you do when you're a kid, at least in my family, is you're out hunting and you're out fishing. Yeah. And you're living in nature as much as you can. I mean, you don't want to be in the house, you want to be outside. So I mean, I understand that. It's just here we don't have the magic and the lore and everything else that you guys have out east. We're just kind of more just get it in the ground, watch it grow, harvest it up, and let's roll. You know what I mean?
Isn't that also a kind of magic?
Well, what it was in the mountains is that, like my Scots and Irish heritage, these people moved in, and they didn't go any further because this looked just like Scotland,
this
right?
is home.
And this was home. And it's interesting. I just read the other day when the Pangea broke apart that it actually ripped those the mountains that are now Scotland and also West, the part of Appalachia.
It's the same thing.
It was. They actually came home, which I find fascinating.
That is fascinating. Now that you think about it.
But they were so isolated. I mean,
They were.
And they still are. If you're ever back in those mountains, it's so isolated. And so they brought their superstitions. They brought the fae with them. They brought trolls with them. I'm also part Norwegian, so wherever that came from. I know, right? But anyway. So they bring the trolls with them. They bring their magic with them. But so did the Africans that had moved into the area or were brought to there. Very few of them, I can tell you that. Most people were very poor in the Appalachians. They brought that, aspects of their own culture and their own superstitions and their own magic with them. See what I'm saying? And the Irish did the same with the Picts. They brought stories of the Picts, the little people with them. And all of these things just, and Germans and the Dutch, or Dutch Germans,
hex magic,
hex magic, absolutely, and it all came together, and then it stayed there. You see what I'm saying? It's like boom.
It just was like boom. That's it.
It's like and then it kind of began to integrate, and I will tell you, Appalachia is unique. It's beautiful. I know that the Sisters of Magick, all of us are Appalachian children and grandchildren of granny women. We all have stories that we share about, our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers. I wish I could have known my great-great-grandmother, but unfortunately I did not. But my great-great, we have longevity in my family, so I was able to meet her. So, yeah.
That's so cool. And speaking of stories and everything, don't you guys have a book coming out?
Actually, we have a book out. Let me show it.
Oh, it is out. Yay!
Yeah. Here we go. Let me see. There we go. Spells and Stories of the Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders. And that is the 4 of us. So yeah, and at the end, it tells our stories. It's what it is, because we get so many questions about how did we get to be where we're at, right? What's our story? And so we told them. And then part of this is, is spells from the Book of Shadows of the Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders. Next year, we're going to come out with a more complete Book of Shadows. If anyone is interested in, also, where did I put them? Also, I just did, like I said, I'm a photographer, and I just did
tarot cards.
Fairy World Oracle cards. Yep, this is actually Miss Ashley, who is of the Sisterhood. Yeah. Ashley Connor, whom I love dearly. This one I got to show because it's my awesome little granddaughter. Isn't she cute?
Yes.
Yeah, she's my light. I'm just showing the sister. Oh, that's me. Oh, my handsome husband. Got to show him. Whoop.
Oh, yeah.
And this is Miss Misty.
Misty.
Yeah, and her card is Strength, which makes sense for her. Mm-hmm. And then, let's see. And this is Rhonda's card, and she is the mystic in this deck. But we are also working, in fact, we're finishing up. It'll be ready we're going to release it the beginning of next year, is an oracle deck just for the Sisterhood. So we're working on that right now. It's going to be 39 cards for that particular deck. Yeah.
Nice.
So we have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Where can people get all this stuff?
Well, let's see. The book is actually available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. It's gotten picked up by Barnes & Noble. It's really starting to get picked up online quite a few places. So just look at Amazon.com, Spells and Stories of the Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders, or it will come up with the Sisterhood of Magick and Wonders. And if anybody wants to check us out, they can check us out. Our website is sisterhoodofmagick.com. Yep.
Magic with a K.
Yes. Well, right now we're transferring that one right now, but right at this second, it's Magic with a C. I just bought them both so there wouldn't be confusion. That way, anybody can get to us, even if they spell it. But yes, Magic with the K is how we spell our name. But right now, to get to our website, it's just Magic with the MAGIC.
And they can buy the cards on your website.
The cards are being sold when we're out and about right now. So we have those available at the conferences we attend. So yeah.
Oh.
Yay. Which
Yeah.
you've got one coming up, Haunted Henricus in Virginia. I'm going to be there too to hang out. Yay.
Oh,
I'm not doing books this time. I'm actually going to just hang out.
Go and enjoy.
The cool thing about the Haunted Henricus event is it's also working together with Scares That Care, which is a fantastic charity. It basically it uses those of us in the haunted house industry, the paranormal, and we benefit children that have had to go into the hospitals for diseases or burns or anything like that. And the money goes to helping the children and their families. It's really cool. Yeah. So check it out.
Whitney, you'll have to give me a deck of those cards while you're there.
I will get you a deck of the cards.
Listen, if you guys, and Brandon, I'll give you a book too. I'll give him to Whitney when we're up at Scares That Cares. If you can get it to him,
I can do that.
Yeah, I can do that. No problem.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay. What a night tonight, guys.
This is a good way to wrap up the season. I can't believe we've already gone over an hour.
Yay! You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. It's fine.
I wanted to say one thing. I know we need to cut it, but it was never mind. ADD. Go ahead.
You're good.
This is why I have a pen. I was going to write it down, but it was something you wanted to know, and I'm like, oh man, I needed to explain that a little bit. But anyway, go ahead.
I think we might have to get you guys back on the show next season or something.
Okay.
Maybe try to get some of the other ladies in. And we also want to say hi to the chat. We see Cynthia Gerodius on there, and we also see Jerry Sword on there. He says, hi, Pat.
Oh, hey, Jerry.
Oh, boy. Hi,
oh, wait a
Brandon.
minute. Oh, my God. Jerry's my reminder. If you all don't put anything else on this, put this on it. Jerry is the director and producer for Sword and Stone Entertainment, and the Sisterhood is being profiled. Actually, what he's doing is taking a look at modern witchcraft through the eyes of the Sisterhood and Appalachian magic, because that's the aspect that we come at it from.
Right.
And that is actually Terrell Lee of T. Lee Productions or Films is the cinematographer for this. And both of these gentlemen they're super professional, and everything that I've seen so far is just amazing. And they are having a premiere this October 21st at Legacy Theaters in Bristol, Tennessee, or Bristol, Virginia / Tennessee. Yeah.
Wow.
So thanks, Jerry, for the reminder. I'm terrible.
Not at all.
Guys, you can tell that I am not after 15 minutes of fame, because that would have came out of my mouth the first thing.
I actually kind of forgot about it myself.
I don't know. I think, believe it or not, I cannot believe that I got as much in tonight as I did. Thank you all for giving me an hour.
Hey, we're also about storytellers here, so we really appreciated that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Pat, for being on our show tonight, and thanks to everybody who tuned in for our season finale.
And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please remember to take a second and rate us 5 stars or leave us a review. It helps us to get the word out about the show, and we want to hear your feedback to help make the show better.
That is absolutely right, Whitney. And if you're an Android listener, you can follow us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts, or simply say, Alexa, play that Para-Unity podcast.
Oh, God.
No, and you'll never miss an episode that way. Remember, if you like the show, tell a friend. If you want to be a guest on the show or just want more Para-Unity, please join us on our Facebook or Instagram. Also, if you want to help support the show, please stop by our website and buy us a coffee. But my name is Brandon.
And I'm Whitney, and you have been listening to the best place to bring our paranormal teams a little closer together, the Para Unity Podcast. And we'll see you guys next season.
That's right. Remember, late August, early September, we will be back with season 5.
So enjoy your summer vacation from us, guys. But keep your eyes on social media because we'll be posting stuff all the time.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.